This is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions podcast. And today we've got John Farris with us. He actually prefers to just go by his last name, Farris, which is really kind of fun and unique. Those listeners on C4OC Radio, as well as Revelation Radio 2, have been really excited about a lot of energy work, energy talk. Without any further delay, what I want to do is go ahead and just start we'll go through maybe how you got started, maybe from there where it's taken you and why you're doing this. And so I'll turn it over to you.
Well, good morning, and thank you so much for having me on the show, and super excited about this opportunity. My story, this last chapter for myself, started actually in Northern California. I was living in Humboldt County beginning in 2000 and had a full chapter till 2010 there. I was deeply involved in the medical marijuana business in Humboldt, and I actually did a lot of tree climbing, had a tree climbing business and chainsaws and doing all this really intense things up in Humboldt County. And super enjoyed my life there, and I never really thought I'd change or leave that place, and pretty grounded in. I had a house there and in the Redwoods in Redway, California.
Oh, wow.
And just loved my life and was really having a beautiful expansion. A lot of things were happening, and 2008 came along and really shifted everything for everybody, and I never really thought that would hit the weed business. I started having some challenges in my world, and a couple years went by, and I was really asking, gosh, is this my path? What should I be doing? And just wondering why my life seemed to be kind of imploding.
Right.
So there was this one day that I went into a shop in town, and I saw this little wire wrap amulet, and it was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and I just couldn't take my eyes off it. Bought it immediately and came home, and I was just mesmerized by this amulet. It had probably 7 different little tourmaline stones in it, crystals, and these sweeping weaves of silver and whatnot, and I just couldn't believe this thing. And
it was actually a pretty pricey piece, though.
Yeah, I dropped $2,000 immediately on this, and so you could. I mean, it was just a no-brainer for me to get this. That's how much I love this amulet that I bought. And the next day, the woman was a friend of mine. She's like, Farris, you need to bring that back. I wasn't supposed to sell that to you. That was my partner's. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh.
I was seriously heartbroken, right? So long story short, I took it back and begged on my knees, but she said no, and I had to return it. And that was kind of the impetus, the trick of the universe for me to say, you know what, I'm going to learn how to make one of these for myself.
Hey, sometimes that's the best way to go.
Yeah, so I went down to the local bead shop, and I bought the tools, and I came home, and I looked at some guy's website, figured out a couple of moves, and I started making these crystal amulets. And
Wow.
I'd say about a month into that, I was super fascinated with how good I already was at this. So people started picking up interest in it. I built a website, and kind of a long story short, I ended up a lot of transition. I needed to leave Humboldt at that time and ended up in Sedona with my jewelry. I got into a gallery here and just made this whole life change into being, I guess, a jewelry artist. This whole process has been me learning about these amulets that I make. Here's one with a black onyx Vogal in it. And so I've been making these. Here's a smaller one with, you just get a view of what actually I'm making. So all these fine weaves are all hand spun.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's all done by hand. And what is happening with these things is I've had them tested on a Radionics machine, which is kind of a fancy machine that reads frequencies and vibrations. And these have a self-sustaining vitality rating on a Radionics machine, meaning they're emanating energy. And what I believe is happening is these coils that I make on the back here are basically kind of like a fractal. They're a wire over a wire.
Right.
You put it into like a circle or a toroid shape, it would be pushing energy through. So I've always been attracted to crystals, and I've always been fascinated with art. I've been a chef before this chapter in
Nice.
California. And so I have a big creative impetus that comes through me, and now it's coming through my jewelry and wire that I'm working with. And how this has really affected me and is affecting other people in a positive way is with this machine, and being able to tell that these amulets that I'm making are actually working with your biofield, your energetic field, to harmonize, to uplift, work with your DNA. And I've actually had somebody with another machine recently prove that these amulets are really doing a lot of positive things in the system and body and whatnot. So, it's been a big life change for me, but I'm really excited to push forward with my art that is my way of being in service. And I know you had a lot of questions, but I'll just keep rolling here.
Oh, you're totally fine. I want to talk a little bit about radionics, just a little bit,
Sure.
to give the audience a little bit better view. Now, I do different types of energy work, and I've mentioned some stuff. The audience has been learning about crystals, the different energy fields.
Yeah.
One, like a process with the radionics that I've really found fascinating in the research that I've seen is it actually helps with like crops and with energy, like helping you to feel better, feel more energetic, happy. And I've noticed that I even wear a tensor ring or coil. I don't know if you can see it really well. Has the little figure 8, and I think it's the cubit one. I'm not really quite sure. But
yeah, you have the last qubit on that. Yeah.
Right. And so when I bought it at Dimensions of Disclosure, I literally had a physical Kundalini orgasm. It just went all the way from my toes to my crown. And it's funny because some other people were there that they were like, wait, what just happened? I'm like, But it really does supercharge the energy, I've noticed. And I've incorporated it with some of the other science projects I have here in my mad science layer. But yeah, it's really, really cool. One of the things I'm curious about, just for where you're talking about Vogal earlier before we had started recording, about Marcel, was it Markel or Marcel?
Marcel Vogel. And
could you explain a little bit about his science and research and
definitely
what his stones do? Because I'm actually really curious about like what kind of energies those stones actually have.
Okay, cool. So Marcel Vogel was a scientist that worked for IBM back in the 50s and 60s. And this man became fascinated with crystal energy as far as how crystals store data. It's widely well known that crystals are used in electronics. They're used in all sorts of things to like if you put pressure on a crystal, it'll cause a piezoelectric effect and a small electric sparkle.
Right.
But that's not big, but putting that pressure on there. So he of course worked for IBM, so he had a lab full of equipment and ways of testing different things. So he became super fascinated with how crystals store data, transfer data, and especially crystals used in healing. And so he started getting downloads and started playing with different shapes of the crystals because he had this lapidary equipment there. He had sent one of his assistants to Arkansas, and he brought back all this crystal material, and he started these in different shapes. And he figured out that if the crystal was cut at the angles of the pyramid on a fire on let me get a crystal here.
Okay, yeah, you're good.
So you have this crystal here, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is a double terminated crystal because there's a termination on this end and on this end, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is the way the energy will run through this crystal, and because it's double terminated, it will run through
Oh,
both.
okay, so it makes your torrid field.
Well, it's just running energy through that C axis of the
Oh,
crystal.
okay.
So what he did was, you're familiar with the tree of life in the Kabbalah?
I am, but I don't know how many of our people
Okay.
listening would be.
Well, then would that be the Jewish tradition?
It's yeah, I know that it's Hebrew, the Kabbalah.
Hebrew. Okay, yeah, I wanted to get that straight. So, so the shape is basically comes up and then has a wider angle at the top. And what we can do is I'll send that. We can put that the link to the article about Marcel in the description box
Okay, great idea.
so people can read fully about that. But he really got it really precise on the shape of the crystal. It's when we could say it's a true Vogel, it's been cut with consciousness to precision of these angles, which basically he tested is in resonance with water. And our bodies being 70% water, this crystal is actually in resonance with us.
Awesome.
So when we have these specific shapes, like the Platonic solids, for example, that are cut into crystal shapes, they all have their own energy and own specific frequencies. So he came up with this shape. I'm actually wearing a true Vogel here, and it is the most powerful thing and most
Beautiful
crystal that I've ever worn. I can go out in any crowd and feel grounded and feel protected. I'm super empathic. I take on other people's energy very easily. So I noticed that this really helps keep me grounded, keep me in my kind of own biofield and strong and vital. So he also knew that programming crystals, you can put your prayers and intentions into your personal crystals, and they'll actually hold that thought, that frequency, and be working with you. And that's what he discovered in his labs in the 60s. So huge fan of Marcel and his work.
That's really cool that
Yeah.
he's been able to explain what happens, because I feel a lot of energies as well, having that intuitiveness. And it's interesting the different types of energies from different crystals that you feel. And
Yep.
I do remember just how your booth felt when I was at Dimensions. I was walking by and I was like, wow, hi, what's this? Not just because they're beautiful, but it's almost like this magnetic pull, like, come see me. And
Yeah.
it's like they speak to you. And so it's really, really cool. Beautiful
Yeah.
work.
It's funny because I have my cases that I go to my shows with right here,
Mm.
It's like, you remember Pulp Fiction when they opened the case and this big light came out of it and people were feeling all
Wow.
that, and they didn't
Amazing.
never knew what was in the case. It's kind of like that,
That's a
Scroll,
pretty
you're
good
like, whoa, what's
explanation.
happening here? Super fun.
That's funny. But
Yeah, I
it
get that a
really,
lot.
really does have amazing energy. So any of you guys listening, I highly suggest taking a look at Farris's work, because it's just mind-blowing what he can do with wire and these gorgeous stones. I mean, wow, that's
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah,
Um,
it's a gift that came in when I started doing this, and the process for me has been. We were talking a little bit before the show about the masculine and the feminine and how they operate in each of us. Really, we have a little bit of both in each of us, right? And
oh, yeah.
being a man, I've been super yang, and climbing trees and being myself up there. But when I started doing this jewelry, it was a complete switch, because I haven't from the beginning made any design plans for any of the pieces that I make.
Wow.
So
Wow.
when we flip into, well, what does that look like, or what does that mean? It means that I'm just being receptive, more in the divine, feminine, kind of the way that moves, or that
Right.
because females and the feminine is more receptive and yin and relaxed and open, and the yang energy is more thrusting, or putting a lot of energy out to get some things done. So for me, it's been very much just I'll come to my studio when I start making a piece, and I'll just sit there until I start getting the information on my area. I keep it very energetic, clean, kind of like a little temple space, my sacred
Right.
studio, if you will, because I want the energy that goes into these pieces. I don't want to be watching crazy movies or listening to things. I want it to be from a heart space and just the highest frequency I can be putting out there. So I sit there, I'll get the information, and I'll start making it. So it's a very kind of yin process for me. It's not, I'm just following the directions that I'm getting the
That's a
information.
beautiful spiritual process.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We had discussed with Crystal Cedar in another show about basically kind of like rituals and doing things daily to raise your vibrations. And so this is another example of those kind of rituals that we could do, or spiritual practices. And so it doesn't have to be like this huge shebang thing or show. It could just be something as simple as just doing the reverence that Farris does with his ability to just flow and to be receptive, because that, just being a creator myself and a female, it's usually pretty easy. And I'm the same way when I get into more my masculine side and I'm starting to, bring out the tools and make stuff, more, but I still flow with that feminine energy of receiving. And I don't make like blueprints or anything. And it's funny because some people are like, how do you do that? But I get it. I know exactly what you're talking about. I think it's because you've got this daily practice of your spirituality, connecting, grounding, and then the different spiritual practices that you have where you're able to channel your Kundalini energy up and down. And for those that are not really totally familiar with Kundalini energy, it's kind of from that tailbone, or kind of where your bum is, all the way up through the top of your head, up your spine, just those energetic pulses. And did you want to go into any of the processes that has really helped pull in that energy for you, or that creation process?
Well, I think from my point of view, I feel like that when you say the Kundalini energy, let's just call it sexual energy. We could say that creative energy, that drive. So I know that creative flow comes from that sexual energy. So how would I say this? My practice is with my sexual energy is I'm not really releasing that on a recreational basis. So I'm always
you're doing more of like a spiritual tantric practice.
I would say in both ways. And but that when I'm, instead of just releasing that energy, I'm building it up and holding on to it, and it's cycling it through my body. So if you can imagine just being super horny, and then instead of just being super horny, you use that energy into what you're trying to do. So let's say, for example, I wake up and I'm feeling a lot of energy in that way. Mm-hmm. I don't express it through physical touch or intimacy. I can just come into my studio and I'll start making things and put that energy. So it's really using that creative force that we call lust or horny, or however you
basically you're channeling that sexual chi, and you're able to do it. And the dantian, which people talk about, kind of that between the belly button and your pubic bone area, it's got that real heavy, real juicy energy. And so just really taking that sexual chi, it is awesome when you're creating. It's totally awesome.
Yeah, it really is. So I value that, and I don't the recreational use of that energy doesn't really appeal to me that much, because I value it. That energy's coming out of my vital organs to create a person. So I take mad respect with that, and guard that for myself. So
that's really cool. That's
different practice.
That's beautiful. Awesome. And it's cool that a lot of people are able to be more expressive about that these days. I know a lot of people have been talking about tantric practices, and I love that we're able to be more expressive and open in our country, Because I think with a lot of the religious shaming that a lot of people have gone through, it's really hurt this divine feminine in our nation. And so.
Indeed. Yeah, we've got a lot of healing going on, and
Right.
yeah, there's a long way to go, but I'm very optimistic.
Well, I think you're doing an awesome job. Do you have
Thank you.
any special pieces that you want to talk about? Maybe the meaning of the piece, the stone, the energy, and maybe what it could do for somebody that might be interested in purchasing one of your beautiful pieces.
Absolutely. Let's see. So I do have my case here. We can just go through.
Oh, I'm excited. These are so cool.
A little bit of each. I mean, I have a lot of pieces right now. Excuse me. I was actually getting ready for show season here right before all this went down in the country. So I have a lot of inventory here, and there's a lot that I can share with you. So, for example, I've showed you the Vogal. I might show you a couple more Vogals, but for example, here is a
Wow,
amethyst.
that's so beautiful.
And this is from Brazil, and it is 71.2 carats.
Holy cow.
So when we look at amethyst, it's a beautiful stone, but it has some amazing attributes and qualities. Amethyst is known for its purifying effects. Back in the day, it was used to purify wine and help people with that. It has a lot of protective energies to it. So
what would you call the shape of that stone?
Kind of like a teardrop. It's more of like a
teardrop?
Kind of triangle shape, but it's rounded. So this one is just a faceted round.
That's gorgeous.
Teardrop
Amazing.
one. So wearing this one would offer a lot of connection to spirit, a lot of protection, a lot of probably grounded feeling as well.
Really tuning in, I bet, that crown chakra on that one especially, huh?
Yep. And excuse me. This one, I don't know if you can see too much inside of that, but there's some gold in this crystal here. And this is a rutilated quartz, which means those little needles that you see inside that crystal are actually titanium oxide threads.
Oh,
wow. The rutile is basically a quartz crystal with these threads in it, and it adds massive vitality to it. So this one is just a zippy piece that could be worn by a female or male, depending
a cool stone.
on their size. And so I'm very fascinated with the different attributes and frequencies that these stones offer us in their ways that they can kind of ally our lives. And this one, as you can see, is a citrine. So that's a different, you can a little bit more golden. It's still a quartz crystal.
That's so cool how you've got the wire just on one side so intricately. I mean, it's like a knot that you've tied, and just where you're doing this freehand, no planning. This is just stunning work. I mean, wow.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And the citrine crystal never needs clearing. A lot of crystals will pick up and absorb energies from other people and situations and environments. Well, the citrine never needs clearing, and it is pretty much the premier stone of manifestation. So people go to for, hey, I want to bring this into my life, or I need some protection or whatnot. So, when I go through the process of these crystals finding me, or I'm searching out crystals, it's really an interesting flow for me. Some of them come to me through gifts. Some of them I would find down at the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. And basically, I can see the ones that really stand out. They're kind of like speaking to me. Hey, I need to come home with you and get wrapped up for somebody. So and the process for me doing work for clients and I would say just for getting ready for a show is kind of like the same thing, but there's one big difference, and that is for clients and people that come to me for custom work. They'll say, Farris, what can you make for me for protection, or I'm having this that I'm working on in my life and need to feel more grounded or need my heart opening more. So we'll decide on a crystal that will most benefit those things that she's looking for, or him, and I'll come back to the studio and I'll tune into I'll tune into them, and I'll start getting information from their higher aspect.
Wow, I love it.
These amulets, so they're basically really tuned to that person so they can benefit in a maximum way.
Nice. And you really are tuned in. You've got a very light, very loving energy, which is really awesome. I think that's
thank you.
Great as a medicine worker, because this is your medicine. I mean, this is absolutely your medicine, and beautiful what you can do. Wow.
Thank you.
This is so cool.
I want to show a couple more, because one of my favorite ones that I've done of late is when I did go down to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show, and I grabbed up this. Let me see if I can get this.
Oh yeah, the little Buddha guy.
The little Buddha guy,
so
and it
cute.
was basically just this little Buddha that was carved into that, and so I carved it a little bit more and put some clouds, and then kind of exploded his head. But then I took it to the next level. Let me see if I can get this working here. I'm going to put it under my light. I painted some luminous paint, like
I love it.
Watches, the numbers and whatnot glow in the dark.
Right.
How this thing.
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't know if you can see that at all.
Yeah, I can. He's got the little glow in the dark green.
He's
going on. That's cool.
Super fun.
Super cool.
I make a wide variety of sizes. I've really toned down the size that I've been making. A lot of people have said, please, I can't wear a mom's. I'm making smaller pieces nowadays. Now,
what's the stone that's in the one that you just showed?
Oh, this is an amazing blue topaz carved by Alan Hargrave, and he's just a machine with his intaglio.
Is that a Merkaba?
It's a little Star of David snowflake in there.
Wow, that's so cool.
And he faceted this one.
Beautiful.
And I just love this one, and it's a great size. A little bit spendy because it's been carved and it's blue topaz, but
yeah, that thing looks like it would be expensive, but it's beautiful. Just wow.
Thank you. So I have a lot of different price points, and I'm more than happy to work with anybody and what they're comfortable with. I'd rather that person who's attracted to my work really be able to approach it and be able to afford it and be able to benefit from it. So I have, my price points and whatnot, but I'm not married to it. And I have different levels of stones that I work with. So
do you have any of those little beetles that you've been making, or those little bitty ones? Because those have been so cute. But, some people might want something that's a smaller pendant like that as well. And these are so cute that he's doing. They're really precious.
Hang on, I got to go to my other case.
Oh, you're good.
So here is compared to
that's so cute. I love
Vogal. Here's a big Vogal right here. It almost fits, and then so I have some different sizes for different size people.
That's really cool. Now, just out of curiosity, because that would be almost a good size for earrings. If there was somebody that was wanting like a set, would you do something like that as well?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool.
A lot of people have asked me, well, God, you don't make cuffs, you don't make earrings, you don't make rings. What's the deal here, Farris? And I thought about that. Well, I don't really enjoy doing that because I feel like my thing is making these amulets that go on the heart chakra.
So, so that's mostly the reason that you do them at that link. Oh, okay, that's cool though.
I do have some earring setups and smaller things, but that's normally not my focus.
Okay, I just like to ask so that people kind of get a good picture on. on what you offer and everything. So
Yeah.
really cool though. Wow.
Also, I do make some necklaces, full necklaces where there's just one, for example. Um,
Oh, fun.
so this one was for someone that I met at the American Music Awards, and this has
Wow.
pearls and these microfaceted um, amethyst and citrine beads here. So I do have about 3 or 4 necklaces and can do a full necklace if need be.
Just looks like something like a mermaid princess or something would have. That's so amazing.
No,
Wow.
thank you so much. So
Yeah.
here's another little rutile.
Oh, beautiful.
It's a
Ooh, I
little
like
peace
that.
sign.
That's so fun how they faceted it too. It just really makes it on a different level. Just really brings out that beauty.
Yeah, fun stuff, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, so I've been making that. I also have been creating even a larger size. This is
Wow.
my Sweet Surrender mine in Arkansas, and this is more of a wand. This isn't
Right.
too big to wear, but the energy of it when I this would be a healing tool or a meditation. You know, you hold it in. I have a crystal that I've been holding for a couple years now every morning when I do my meditation, and it's got so much energy in it because I sit with it
That is a
in the morning.
powerful stone. Yeah,
So
beautiful.
I
And
do make,
Arkansas's got some amazing crystals.
oh, for sure,
Wow,
for
wow.
sure.
What is your why, I guess, on your business that you're doing or the service that you're doing by really bringing your channeled art to the public?
Okay. Well, I would have to say my main thrust, motivation in life really comes from wanting to help out here and to make this place a more beautiful place. That's always been my fundamental motivation in life is to create beauty, to hold space for people. I have a lot of healing energy that comes through me. I almost went into Watsu, which is a water release therapy modality.
Oh, wow.
So whether it's me cooking in Alaska with that career that was before this one, or making this jewelry, or helping someone at the market with some healing thing that they need to have worked on, it's really just to be here and be of service. And the last 10 years, started doing this in 2010 till now, has been making this jewelry for people and getting it out in the world because I know how it affects and helps shift people's lives. I consider them talisman. You had mentioned the word sigils. Seagulls, is that the right word?
Sigil.
Sigils,
I
something
guess
like
it could be, tomato, tomato, right?
that. It's really interesting with what's happening in the world right now, and so much is shifting. I may be called into another line of service work, but the common thread for me is just really like showing up and being here for whoever needs it. And this outlet with my jewelry has been that for the last 10 years, and looks like we're under some changes here, and we'll see how that flows out. I know
Right.
up in the air for everybody right now, you know?
Right. Well, and just keeping that positive energy, a lot of the stuff we talk about, and that's another beautiful thing about Farris's work is just like any of the the stones that Crystal and I have talked about, these are going to be like taking it up another step when you really, really go into that fine, really well made or well crafted jewelry like this. Even if it's not just jewelry, just any kind of healing modality. I love that you're also creating yours in a beautiful way. And similar to kind of what I've been working on, I still haven't launched my product yet, but I'm excited that there's ways that we can really bring in what Mama Gaia has to offer to us and take our own aspect of beauty and really flow and channel that feminine energy to create something that's truly healing.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. So however it looks, it'll be kind of the same thing for me, whether I morph into another. What I'd like to see happen is start working with larger sculptures and public installations if we can ever gather again.
Right? I think we will. It's coming, right? And this might have been that wake up call and that shift that we've needed. Just listening to Clifford Mahooty and David Signpass the other day, really beautiful. I think where we're all going, where people are shifting and becoming more conscious minded and coming together as communities with more care. I'm actually
Yeah.
seeing that a lot more. I don't know where
Yeah.
some of these people are getting all the fear stuff. That definitely isn't my reality. I acknowledge it's there, but I think we definitely create our reality.
Yeah. Very important to take that time to reset ourselves when we're feeling a little out of balance, or take that time to step away from everything and take a break and really honor how we're feeling. And I just want to say to all the people out there that are listening to this right now, if there's anything I can do above and beyond my jewelry, just let me know. I'd really love to, if you're feeling lost or need some words or some inspiration. A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people have been training for this, to hold space for this transition that we're in. I don't know if I consider myself a world leader in this movement. I do feel like I have something to offer, and a modicum of awareness and wisdom of what I've been through, and uh, yeah. So we're just helping each other, and I just want to extend that offer and be here for anybody that needs that.
It's something that I think people would really appreciate, especially where we have a lot of veterans. Farris is also a veteran, and so he really understands a lot of what people have gone through and what people are going through right now in this awakening process, where we're basically, the way I understand it, is we're processing those traumas that we've had because we're moving forward. Mama Gaia is transitioning, into
Yep.
4D. We've got this 4D, 5D shift. I don't understand everything to it. I'm new to it myself, but I think
Yep.
as we're all waking up and dealing with the traumas that we've had, and maybe somebody else is going through something that we've already dealt with, or vice versa, I love that you've got one of those hearts and those listening ears that people can come to and just feel like, oh man, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy or whatever people have tried to organize me out to be or whatever. We all totally make what our life is. And I love that you really are stepping up and bringing a more positive change and just being that leader. And we definitely need more leaders like that are stepping up and just really grabbing onto their medicine and their craft like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I see you as a leader as well, my dear. You're continuing with your practice, and you're putting this out in the world. You're following your guidance, and thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anything that I can do to help with disclosure, with waking up, with raising vibes. As far as where to get a hold of you,
John Farris Visionary Arts with an S.com, and I'm pretty sure you're going to put that in the description box for folks. And I've got my links there to my Facebook. John Farris is my Facebook page, and Instagram is linked there, John Farris Visionary Arts. But all the links are on my website, and how to get a hold of me. And I'm actually offering a good percentage off of anything on my website right now. I'm reinventing myself with all the shows being canceled that I was going to be attending. So really in a state of flow and trust right now. So if I service through offering my work at a little percentage there, and that helps everybody, then I would just, it's a win-win,
Absolutely. With energy like that, it definitely is a win-win. Now, are you still doing your Sunday show where you're doing your Facebook Live and explaining the process as you make your beautiful artwork and jewelry?
I would love to continue doing that. I wish I had better reception at my place right now. I've had a couple 3 weeks where I've been cut off about 3 times during the show.
Mm.
So I haven't done a show in a while. I may take that chance over this weekend. You don't know. I'm not sure, but I know a lot of people are home right now, and it'd probably be super entertaining for people to watch. So that may be that may be happening this weekend.
There you go. What time do you think you might do a show?
Right now I'm uncommitted.
Uncommitted.
Yeah, day by day is flow right now for me. I usually do the show Sunday mornings, 11:11 or something like that for an hour or something while I make a piece. I'm not going to pin myself down to that right now. There's a lot going on, and
Right.
I'll definitely be giving any heads up on that on my Facebook page. Okay.
Awesome. We'll definitely keep an eye out for that. So John Farris, visionaryarts.com. Really, really excited to see your new work that you'll be bringing out. So any questions that any of the viewers may have on my YouTube page, Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions podcast, you can type just below the video here. You can also get a hold of John on his website, Facebook, Instagram, email. His phone number's there. You know, hey, he's like given an open invitation if you want to call and talk that beautiful jewelry, give him a call, and I'm sure he'll love to work something out with you. And for those that are C4OC radio listeners, as well as Revelation 2 radio listeners, thank you so much, guys. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to get a hold of John. You can get a hold of me as well on Facebook, on my Amária Sweet page, as well as HeartMind Expressions podcast. Awaken, Empower, Thrive is my page where I do my coaching as well. You can book a session with me. If you wanted to do some tarot, we could do readings, energy work as well there. And of course, we've got the Fire, Feather, Phoenix Circle. For any of you ladies out there that are feeling connected to the Secret Space program, have any questions, or maybe just wondering what's been going on with paranormal activities that you've just been struggling with, come on over and check out that Fire, Feather, Phoenix Circle page on Facebook. Remember to keep your energy high, keep smiling. It is kind of some crazy stuff going on right now with COVID-19, but we are a lot stronger. That higher energy and what these crystals, the radionics will be doing, definitely will help you get through this a lot better. This is Amária Sweet with HeartMind Expressions podcast. Thank you so much, guys. Love you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. Amazing.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Farris.